I now call to order the March 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals. And I'm going to call the roll.
Margaret Clements.
Here.
Bernie Garitas.
Here.
Hosea.
Here.
Mary Jessica Smarchuk.
Here.
Mrs. Sorensen.
Yes, here.
We have all 5 members in a quorum.
Okay, introduction of the evidence, please.
Request that the following items be introduced into evidence for tonight's meeting. Monroe County Comprehensive Plan is adopted and amended. Monroe County Zoning is adopted and amended. Monroe County Subdivision Ordinance is adopted and amended. The rules of procedure of the Board of Zoning Appeals of Monroe County, and the case is advertised and docketed for hearing on tonight's agenda.
I move that we approve the evidence.
Second.
Okay, I will call the roll. Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Bernie Garitas.
Yes.
Marie Hosea.
Yes.
Mary Jessica Smarchuk.
Yes.
Mrs. Sorensen.
Yes.
The evidence is introduced for the meeting's record.
I move that we approve the agenda as published and printed.
I'll
There's
second.
been, there's been one continuance since the packet was published. I don't know if, Larry, we can combine those.
I think any changes to the agenda should be addressed prior to the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
The 2101-VAR-07 Fagenbaum conditions for a tourist home variance to Chapter 802 has been withdrawn by the petitioner.
Then I move that we approve the agenda with the acknowledgement that item number 6 has been continued at the request of the petitioner.
Is that withdrawn or continued?
Withdrawn.
Withdrawn, sorry, thank you.
I second that.
Second.
Okay. I'll go ahead and call the roll on this. The vote is to approve the agenda as amended for tonight's meeting. Bernie Garitas.
Yes.
Marie Hosea.
Yes.
Mary Jessica Smarchuk.
Yes.
Mrs. Sorensen.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
The agenda as amended is approved.
Okay, no minutes, no old business. So let's jump right in with Anderson side yard setback variance 2101-VAR-05, and that is Drew.
Tech Services, could you make Drew a co-host so that he's able to share?
Go ahead.
Okay, one moment while I get this screen up here. I'm going to see if I can share the PowerPoint and also have the packet up at the same time so that I can read my notes. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. We'll see though. All right.
If not, Drew, I can have the presentation on for you.
Okay, let me see if this will work though. Okay. Everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so the first one on the agenda is 2101-VAR-05 Anderson side yard setback variance from Chapter 833. It's in Perry Township, Section 12 at 3913 East Larry Wayne Drive. It's zoned RE1. All right, so getting into it here. So the petitioner, the petition site is 1.03 acres. It contains a 4,683 square foot single family residence, a 384 square foot in-ground pool, and an approximate 168 square foot concrete patio, as well as approximately 305 square feet porch. The current zoning is state residential, as I stated before. and the parcel is identified as Lot 2 of the Wayneshire Estates subdivision. The petitioner is requesting a variance from Chapter 833 side yard setback requirement of the Monroe County zoning ordinance. The purpose of this variance is to allow the petitioner to construct 900 square feet detached garage that will encroach 10 feet into the required 20-foot side yard setback. So that's an encroachment of 10 feet into that required 20-foot setback. Chapter 833 of Monroe County zoning ordinance does provide for a reduced side yard setback requirement of 5 feet for detached garages, carporch, storage sheds, as long as they're all under 15 in height. However, this structure measures 17.67 feet by the method of measurement outlined in the Monroe County zoning ordinance. Approval of this variance will allow the proposed detached garage to be constructed within 10 feet encroachment to that 20-foot side yard setback. If denied, the proposed detached garage will need to be relocated to accommodate the required 20-foot setback or be reduced in height to meet the Chapter 833 provisions for a reduced side yard setback of 5 feet.
Drew, I can go
Again,
ahead
here's
and
the
share
location
the,
map.
oh, I can share the screen. It's the packet is on half of the PowerPoint, so I don't know if everyone can see one or the other.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was actually on everyone's end or just my end.
No worries. I'll go ahead and
Okay,
share for you.
I'll stop sharing then.
That'll be easier so that just making sure people can see. Okay. Sorry, wrong screen.
Okay. Getting back into it, here's the zoning map and the comprehensive plan map. Comprehensive plan has it designated as rural transition, and the zoning map has it as state resident 1. Jackie, can you? Thank you.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
might want to
so here
turn
we
your video off, Drew. It's a little bit touch and go with the
Okay.
Wi-Fi.
Thank you. All right, so the site conditions here, as I said before, contains a single family residence, an in-ground pool, concrete patio, as well as a porch. There's no FEMA floodplain. There are no karst features. The site is not located in the environmental constraints overlay, and the petition site has access to sanitary sewer via the city of Bloomington. It's fairly flat as well, as you can see there. Here are some pictometry images of the site. The detached garage will go here at the end of the paved driveway. It will go into the grassy area. That's where their proposed location is. So here's the letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals stating their intent to construct the 30 by 30 detached garage into the side yard setback. Here is the site plan that shows the location of that detached garage, the proposed location, as well as an exhibit that shows the height and a floor layout as well. And finally, I include a zoomed in copy of the existing Wayneshire Estates subdivision plat that has their lot number on there, just for extra reference. This plat also does have a 20-foot side yard setback requirement, the same as the RE1 zone. All right, so overall, planning staff recommends denial of the design standards variance, Chapter 833 of the Monroe County zoning ordinance based on findings of fact, specifically finding C, in that the practical difficulties have not been met because the petitioner could theoretically reduce the size of the structure to that 15-foot height that would allow for a 5-foot side yard setback instead of the 20-foot side yard setback. I will now take any questions.
Anyone have any questions for staff?
I have a question, Mary Beth,
Go
to Drew. And you may not know this, is this, do they have a homeowners association in this division?
That I am not completely aware of. I think that would be a better question for the petitioner or petitioner's representative.
Any other questions for staff?
Bernie?
Yeah, I've got a quick question, Drew. How is the height calculated? So it's review with me, or review for us the height that will allow the 5-foot encroachment in the setback versus how it's calculated for, I think you said 17.5 feet. I'm just not familiar with that.
Sure. So we take the height up into where the roof line starts, and then it's measured all the way up and then half of that distance. So the middle of the eaves.
Okay, so basically you're taking the 12 feet plus half of a 1133 that's up on the gable end of the roof line.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any more questions for staff? Is the petitioner here?
Yes, the petitioner's representative is here.
And can you state your name, sir?
Yes, my name is Todd Borgman with Smith Design Group.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
All right, thank you, sir. You can proceed.
sure. So what Mr. Anderson is trying to do, he's trying to utilize the existing concrete patio driveway that already exists for the house. And he is looking to build the garage in line with it. He did look at, Tammy was the original planner on this, and she recommended the 5-foot setback. Mr. Anderson has a conversion van that needs the 10-foot high garage doors. So we did try to model a garage with a roof line that could work for that, but we did not feel that it matched his house or the existing houses with the layout, and the roof was just going to be too flat and not conform with the existing houses and his house as well. So he talked to his neighbor, Mr. Bulling, to the east, the Bulling family, which has also sent a letter to planning and myself in support of the variance. And he asked Mr. Bulling what he thought was better, whether to keep the roof line the same or to go for this 5-foot setback. And Mr. Bulling agreed that he liked the 10-foot setback better with the roof line matching the existing neighborhood.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Borgman?
Well, I'll go ahead and ask my question, Mr. Borgman, about, is there a homeowners association with this subdivision?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Borgman?
I'm not seeing anyone.
Yeah,
Okay.
real quick, I'm sorry. I'm trying to manage my packet in the Zoom screen. Excuse me here. So Todd, what's going to happen, or what Mr. Anderson's request is, just to match the east line of the garage with the built environment of the existing driveway. So on that oblique aerial photo where it shows that the white van or the white vehicle, it's just going to run in line with that edge of the concrete next to the home.
Yes, it'll be parallel with that, correct.
And the 10 feet height for the garage doors, that's to accommodate the van with the raised height ceiling or rooftop, and that's why those are 10 foot.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I can see why the extra height then is required. And even if you match I know he wants to match the aesthetics of the roof line, but if you flattened out that roof, the pitch on the roof, it would just put more load for snow and everything on those trusses. So that's a standard roof line if it's matching the rest of the house, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Mr. Bergman?
I have one, and it has to do with the proposed placement of the garage. And I mean, it is in front of windows of the house, right?
No, that is why it is back as far as it is. So the entrance to the house and the windows looking out to the east, the majority of them are going to be okay. There are a few back there, but I believe I did discuss this with him, that's a bathroom is the main window that it will block.
Well, I'd like to talk amongst the Board of Zoning Appeals because I feel like I need a little guidance on this.
Okay, let's see if we can hear from the public first.
Sure.
Okay, are there any more questions for Mr. Borgman?
Not seeing anyone, Meredith.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Borgman. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition?
I'm
Not seeing anyone.
If anyone's joining us by phone and only phone, you do have to press *6 to unmute.
And is there anyone here?
I would like to speak in favor of this.
Okay. State your name.
Bornwood,
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
sure do.
All right, thank you, sir. Proceed.
I've worked on this house, on this property and in this neighborhood, and I feel like the size of the lots and the layout of the lots, and as well as the constraints on the Andersons lot itself, all sort of make sense for the exception that he's asking for there. I think in conjunction with the neighbors' willingness to concede, I think that it makes a lot of sense based on the lay of the land and the constraints of what he's able to do there. So just want to give my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wood. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Wood? None? Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Is there anyone else here? Is there anyone here that would like to speak against this petition? Not seeing any. Okay, Margaret?
Well, I just need a little bit of guidance from the planning staff and perhaps, our legal advice. To what extent is our responsibility to this piece of land, despite, never mind who owns it, I'm looking at the proposed placement of the new garage, and while I just see kind of problems with that, am I the only one who sees that it's right? I don't know, it just doesn't, aesthetically, it doesn't seem right. It seems like it could devalue the property. So I just would like to discuss that among ourselves and get some advice from planning staff, because it seems like kind of a, for lack of a better word, an ill-conceived placement for that proposed additional garage.
And I kind of agree with Margaret too. It just doesn't seem like how it's going to fit in there. And does it have to be as big as is proposed, or can it be a smaller? I know it's for living purposes for the parents. So yeah, I just don't see how it's going to fit in there. And what is this thing right here that's in the kind of the middle? Is that a tree or right? Come on down. Here's a pine tree there. What is that?
An HVAC unit or something?
Yes, that is the pump for the pool system.
I see.
And will that be interfere with having the garage there?
Yes, it will have to be moved.
Okay.
I have a question. For Margaret and Vicky, are your main concerns about the property value and the aesthetics from those windows, or what?
I think that our duty is to think of this property and what goes on it, independent of the individual owner. And I may be wrong, but that seems like an ill-advised placement of, of this structure. I don't have as much problem with the height as I do the placement of it, or the setback. I don't really have that many problems with that, but it just seems like it's blocking like one side of the house. I don't know. I don't quite understand.
Yeah,
Can
I'm kind of like
Larry
that too.
Can Larry give us
Well,
clarification on
I
that?
see,
Go ahead.
go ahead,
Mark.
William, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was done. I was done.
So William, we were asking Larry to weigh in on this.
Yes.
I'll weigh in quite simply that the variance is based upon the findings of fact. Are there practical difficulties in using the property, and is it consistent with the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance? Does it impact property values of adjacent owners and so on? I mean, there's a lot of leeway given in those findings of fact. Absolutely, but it's basically up to the Board of Zoning Appeals as to whether or not the proposed project meets the standards for granting a development standards variance. Are there practical difficulties based upon the real estate?
Seems like that garage could be placed elsewhere on the property. So I'm having difficulty with this this proposal, and so I haven't been convinced that that practical difficulties has been met.
Well, I
Have
mean,
been met.
I got a couple of comments, or at least, I mean, the fact that the neighbor has, and again, if we look at property value, two of the owners have stated that they don't think it's going to affect the property value, which is, I think, one of our criteria, the one immediately adjacent and the landowner himself. And again, that's why I was looking at the front of the garage and how those dimensions on the doors and everything were set up. And it looks to me that it actually keeps a fair amount of green space on the lot still open, and it puts the built environment next to the built environment. I mean, I see a lot of things on petitions. I think, why in the world would you do that? I would never build that there. Or I would never place that there. And I don't necessarily put weight into that as far as my opinion goes, because I'm not these people, and I've not developed the need for what I want to do based on what's there and how they live their life in their home. I mean, to me, I see this as kind of a keeping the built environment clustered adjacent to where they lived, where they pull into the driveway. They've got some buffering to the northeast with those existing, they look like some type of spruce tree. I mean, as far as the placement goes, I was, until I heard with the reasoning for the dimension of the building, the doors, and then why they were lining it up with the driveway, I was really kind of hesitant on thinking that this would be one I can support. I can support it based on those factors, and I think there are practical difficulties here. And the letter from the neighbor tells me that they're not concerned about the devaluation. And again, I kind of stay away from the aesthetics a little bit more than probably most. But I mean, this is one I could probably support.
Okay.
But Bernie, can I ask you a question? Because on page 15, it says the conclusion, there are no practical difficulties. And are you saying that you can see practical difficulties? Are you not seeing practical difficulties?
Yeah, I see practical difficulties because the configuration of the building is something that the owner has decided there are practical difficulties because what they think they need to build or want to build doesn't match the ordinance. There's an existing driveway that they're lining up with, the height of the garage, which is probably a big percent of the 17.7 feet that they need, the height of the garage based on the doors and based on the equipment that they want to put in and out of there. That's something that the ordinance can't necessarily predict. And I would certainly rather see the garage there. I think next to the built home and next to the driveway, it would just look natural with the doors facing out to the roadway versus back in the northwest corner in the yard space where accessibility to the front of the house would be difficult, or even in the front yard between the roadway and the front of the house. I don't think that would be a very, I just don't think that's a very desirable location as someone's driving through the public right of way and they're looking at the back of a garage to line up with the house when it could be up closer to the built environment, back away from the road a few hundred feet. So I think practical difficulties are there. Once I dig into the petition a little bit, I can see them. Yeah,
Hey, would you like to make a motion, Bernie?
I can. Were there any additional conditions on? I didn't see any additional conditions on this. Staff, am I correct on that?
Staff's recommending denial.
Right, but sometimes they put additional
If you-
conditions on there if they see something that they want to make sure is addressed. That's why I was asking.
I'm not seeing any.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay. The matter of case number 2101-VAR-05, Anderson side yard setbacks variance from chapter 833, located at 3913 East Larry Wayne Drive. I move that we approve the variance based on staff report. And I do believe practical difficulties have been met.
I'll second.
Yeah, you want to call the roll, Larry?
Yeah, the vote is on petition number 2101-VR-05, Anderson side yard setback variance from chapter 833 for the real estate located at 3913 East Larry Wayne Drive. A vote in favor is a vote to grant the variance based upon the motion finding the motion which did find practical difficulties in utilizing the property which cannot be reasonably addressed for the redesign or relocation of redevelopment building structure existing or proposed. Again, the motion is based upon amended finding. Again, motion in favor is vote to approve. William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Marchek,
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen,
Yes.
Barbara Clemens,
No,
Bernie Veritas.
Yes.
The variance is approved by a 4-1 vote.
Thank you so very much. You have a good evening, Mr. Boardman.
Thank you all.
Okay, the next case is 2101-VAR-06. And that is Rebecca. Do we have Rebecca?
Yes, Rebecca is
Okay.
on. Rebecca, you're on mute if you're speaking. I'm not sure what is happening, so let me.
Okay, how about now? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is petition 2101-VAR-06. It is a request for a variance to the minimum lot size requirement in Chapter 804. The purpose of the variance request is so that the petitioner can construct a single-family residence on this lot. It is currently vacant. In this zone, the petitioner is required to have 2.5 acres. At the moment, the lot contains 1.04. So she's under the necessary acreage. So this is a parcel located at 7111 West Walker Lane. It is zoned agricultural rural reserve, and the comp plan has it designated as designated communities. There are no real problematic site conditions for this site. Drainage is to the south primarily. And then regarding slope, there is some slope located across the site, mostly towards the roadway or the front yard setback. But you'll see in a minute where the petitioner is proposing to place the new single-family residence. It will not impact slope. The lot is vacant with the exception of this old wooden, I think it's maybe a wooden porch frame that remains. It was obviously snowy that day, so it was tough for me to get really back into the site and take any better pictures. This is looking down West Walker Lane. The driveway, it will be essentially here, which is, she's got already a driveway. There's already a driveway to the lot. So she's got that piece sorted out already. Here's a better picture of the proposed driveway. Once again, a view from West Walker Lane. And then I wanted to point out the parcel map for parcels in this vicinity. As you can see, the petitioner here is highlighted in red, and she is surrounded by quite a few parcels that don't meet the size requirement here in the Ag RR zone. Here we have the petitioner's letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Again, just explaining that she's wanting to buy this lot and build a single family home. She estimates the house to be somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500 square feet. On the right is her site plan. So you can better see the position of her house, and septic is already delineated on the parcel and shown there on the site plan. So in terms of a recommendation, staff recommends approval of this design standards variance from the minimum lot size requirement based on findings of fact and subject to Monroe County Highway and Drainage Engineer reports.
Any questions for staff?
Very quick question, Rebecca. And I noticed in the letter that the health department has already approved the septic permit for the dwelling.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for staff? Is the petitioner here?
She was going to do her best to call in. She was uncertain of her Wi-Fi ability. Sounds like she's not in the state at the moment, possibly on vacation. So I was trying to recognize the numbers that I can see under the participants, but I don't know if she's here or not.
And what is that to unmute on? If you're on a phone, that's *6.
*6 if you're on the phone.
All right. Shall we proceed?
Sometimes it's nice to have the petitioner, but I think I've got all the information I need, that I wouldn't necessarily suggest we hold off on a vote this evening if
I agree. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Anyone here that wishes to speak against this petition? Bernie, would you like to make a motion?
I can. In case number 2101-VAR-06, Lisa Land, minimum lot size variance to chapter 804, located at 7111 West Walker Lane. I move that we approve the lot size variance based on the staff report and findings of fact.
I second the motion. Call the roll, please, Larry. Larry, you're on mute.
I have to do that because I have a dog that wants to intrude in the meeting to me.
I totally understand that. Peter's that's why I mute most of the time too.
He's an excitable boy and he gets really enthused about these zoning hearings.
And if my dog heard your dog barking, then he'd start barking and that would be a mess, yes.
Okay, the motion is on petition number 2101-VR-06, Lisa Land, minimum lot size variance to chapter 804 for the real estate located at 7111 West Walker Lane. A motion in favor is a vote to approve the variance based upon the findings. Again, a motion to approve is motion to approve the variance. Mary Beth Smartcheck,
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Bernie Veritas,
Yes.
William Hosea.
Yes.
Okay, the variance is approved by a 5-0 vote.
All right, thank you. Ms. Land, you're not here, but hope you have a good evening anyway. And next up, we have case number 2102-VAR-08. Ann?
I'm going to go ahead and cover this one, Mary Beth. I think Ann's still logging on, so I'll just go ahead and get us started on it.
I understand.
Okay, so this is the Langdon rear yard setback variance to chapter 833. This is a 0.92 acre parcel located at 1207 North Logan Road, zoned RS 3.5. So this is a rear yard setback variance, and it's for an existing single family residence built in the 1920s. And the porch and the home are currently pre-existing non-conforming based on the zoning setbacks. So the porch is located 8 feet from the property boundary and the home is 16 feet, which is an encroachment of 17 feet and 9 feet respectively into the 25-foot rear setback. So as I mentioned, the location here in Richland Township. The site conditions are fairly flat here. And what they're proposing to do is just to enclose the existing porch on this property to make it into a sunroom. So as I stated, the zoning is RS 3.5, and the comprehensive plan has this area as both employment as well as neighborhood development. So just to recap, the required setback is 25 feet. The current deck encroachment is 17 feet, and the current home encroachment is 9 feet. So in order for them to be able to enclose anything on this property attached to the home, they would need a variance specifically from the rear yard setback. And here is a view of the site here that they want to enclose and some building plans here on the left. And so you can kind of see what it will look like at the end. So staff is recommending approval of the rear yard setback requirement of chapter 833 based on the zoning ordinance and the findings of fact. So I can take some questions.
Questions for staff? Ernie, if you have questions, you're on mute. Nope. Okay. Not seeing any questions for staff. All right. Is the petitioner here and would they like to speak?
David Langdon is here. I'm not sure if they want to speak. I will ask them to unmute. Okay, I'm not seeing a response, so.
Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition?
I'm not seeing anyone.
Anyone here that wishes to speak against this petition?
Not seeing anyone.
Okay. Does any of my board members have a motion for us?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, William.
You are most welcome. Case number 2102-VAR-08. Design Standards Variance, Chapter 833, Rear Yard Setback. I recommend the board approve the variance from the rear yard setback requirement of Chapter 833 based on findings of fact, specifically findings C.
I second the motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
Larry, can you call roll?
I'll call the roll. The vote is on petition number 7102-VR-08, Langdon rear yard setback variance to chapter 833 for the real estate located at 1207 North Logan Road. A vote in the favor is to vote to grant the variance based specifically on finding of fact, specifically finding C. Again, vote in favor is to vote to grant the variance from rear yard setback. Vicky Sorensen,
Yes.
Laura Clemens,
Yes.
Bernie Garitas,
Yes.
Lee Mosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Marchek.
Yes.
The variance is approved by a 5-0 vote.
Okay, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Langdon. Have a good evening. Next up, we have case number 2102-VAR-09. Drew?
Thank you. I'm going to leave my video off to save for my bandwidth here. So this is the official buildable area, 15% slope variance, chapter 804. It's in Bean Blossom Township, section 23 at 5466 West Woodland Road, and it's zoned agricultural rural reserve. All right, so the petitioner requests one design standards variance from chapter 804 in order to build a 1,800 square foot single family residence that will encroach into areas that exhibit slopes greater than 15%. Currently, the lot contains a 1,280 square foot mobile home, a 1,800 square foot pole barn, and a small utility shed. The petitioner plans to remove the existing mobile home structure and construct a new 1,800 square foot single family residence with a walkout basement type design on the property. The proposed location of the new single-family residence will encroach into the area that exhibits slopes greater than 15% and therefore requires a variance for this requirement. If the variance request is approved, the petitioner is required to meet the improvement location requirements, including setbacks, all our design standards for the construction of the new home. And if it is denied, the petitioner must relocate or reduce the footprint of the proposed single-family residence in order to meet the buildable area requirement. So here we have the location map. You'll notice that some of these maps in today's or tonight's meeting are different. That's because our GIS was down when we were creating these maps. So this is just from Elevate. It's a little harder to see on some of these. Here's the zoning map and the comprehensive plan map. It is zoned agricultural rural reserve, and the comprehensive plan has it designated as farm and forest.
Oh.
Here we have the site conditions map. You can see the contour lines here a little bit, but you'll notice that at the address point is where the existing mobile home is, and there's a small area there around that portion that is the buildable area segment. You'll see it more clearly on the next map, which is the slope map. Or did it not make it into the PowerPoint? I thought it did. There it is. So this is zoomed in a little bit. You'll notice that the property appears to be two separate parcels. They're owned by the same owner, Mr. Fischel, and he has provided some deed language that he will be recording soon that will be combining these properties for planning and zoning purposes. So there will not be any issue with this parcel line between them in the future. So you'll notice that the structure here that kind of goes right across the parcel line and is directly to the east of the FEMA floodplain designation. That's the existing mobile home. And the proposed structure of the single family residence will go to the north of it, but be angled towards the northwest and cut into these 15% slopes there in that area. Here we have some aerial pictometry of the property. Overall, there is FEMA floodplain, although the proposed location for the single family residence will not intrude into that area, nor will it intrude into the area that is designated floodplain by the DNR best available floodplain mapping. There are no karst features, and the majority of the property is substantially wooded other than this small area where the existing structures are located. More photographs here. And here we have the petitioner's letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals requesting the variance for buildable area, saying that he would like to build a house that will be utilizing some of those sloped areas at the 15% area. And then following this slide, we have a few exhibits. Here are the submitted site plans for the property. You can note the orientation of the newly proposed structure with respect to the existing mobile home, which is the narrow rectangle. You'll note that the septic is identified on these site plans as well as the utility shed and the existing pole barn structure. Okay, so overall, planning staff recommends approval of the design standards variance, chapter 804 for buildable area, 15% slope requirement based on the findings of fact. And I will state that typically that these types of petitions would receive denial because of not being able to meet the practical difficulty, but planning staff felt that the property owner did meet practical difficulties because although technically they could remove the mobile home and build the new structure in its location, they would be without a livable home during that process. We said that practical difficulties have been met for this particular case. I will now take any questions.
Got a quick question, Drew. I think it's quick. Explain to me the status of the two different parcels one more time, would you?
Sure. So when early conversations with the petitioner about his plans for the property, We found out that they are two separate parcels, two different tracts, I believe, that are explicitly listed in a deed to the current owner, Mr. Fischel. So I stated to him that it would be recommended for him to combine the parcels for planning and zoning purposes, since he will be building a structure over the lot line of both parcels that he currently owns.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So the reason why staff recommended vacating that line to make this one zoning parcel or one parcel of record was because there would be issues with the placement of the proposed home up against the existing line, that's 690-foot line, if I'm reading that right. And then the fact that the mobile home. So if they would have decided to do some sort of lot line reconfiguration to make that work, would that have alleviated the issue for them to lose a buildable parcel?
Bernie, I'll respond to that real quickly. If they move the lot line, it's no longer a pre-existing lot of record. So that's kind of the dilemma people are in. If you have two non-conforming parcels and you can combine them into one conforming parcel, that's the circumstance here. The building they're proposing would, if you treat them as separate parcels, they would need a minimum side yard setback as well for the proposed building, and a minimum lot size variance, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions for staff? Seeing none, is the petitioner here and would they like to speak?
Not seeing anyone.
Okay. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Anyone here that would like to speak against this petition? Okay.
I will state that the petitioner does seem to be on the call. His phone number ending in 3114. If he does want to speak, it's *6, right? That's what we said.
*6, yep.
Okay. Does one of my board members like to make a motion?
Sure.
Yeah, I will. In the matter of case 2102-VAR-09, the official buildable area, parentheses, 15% slope in parentheses, various to chapter 804 at 5466 West Woodland Road. As staff has on the board, I move that we approve the design standards variance to chapter 804 for the buildable area 15% requirement based on the findings of fact.
Second.
You're on mute, Larry.
First of all, I want to correct what I said earlier. This would not have required a minimum lot size variance because it's a large enough lot. I believe, I'm not totally sure on that, but I believe that both lots would comply.
That wouldn't have changed my motion, Larry, but thanks for clarifying that. Thank you.
I think the dilemma here is just a lack of buildable area, which basically made, to have what they want to have on the property, made the combination of lots a necessity. Again, the motion is on to grant the variance for 2102-09 official buildable area, variance from the 15% slope standards under chapter 804 for the real estate located at 5466 West Woodland Road. The vote in favor is vote to approve the variance based upon findings of fact. Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Anderson Giritas,
Yes.
Ruth Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchak,
Yes.
Susan Sorensen.
Yes.
Variance is approved by a 5-0 vote.
Okay. And next up we have case number 2102-VAR-13. Rebecca?
All right, hi again. Jackie, can I ask you to share? I don't have this. I don't have access to this one. Okay, thank you. So this is a variance request to the minimum lot size of Chapter 804 for one parcel in Washington Township located at 7241 North Old State Road 37. It's zoned agricultural rural reserve and contains 2.19 acres. So the purpose of the request is so that the petitioner can construct a 30-foot by 32-foot detached garage. Again, the required acreage in this zone is 2.5 and the lot currently contains 2.19. So they were just shy of the requirement and weren't eligible for the 10%, I think it's the 10% deviation. So that's the reason they're asking for the variance request. So current zoning, again, is agricultural rural reserve. The comprehensive plan has this parcel designated in farm and forest. Site conditions, once again, not a whole lot of concern for this piece of property. However, when you look at the slopes, you can see there are some slopes, but the proposed location of the detached garage is in no slope. So picture on the right is showing, actually you can see the stakes where they intend to build the garage. And it is just adjacent to the existing single family home that's there now. The resident or the petitioners were saying they don't have a garage at the moment. And as they are aging, they're concerned about the getting into their house from the steps that you can see, that sort of see there in the photo on the left-hand side. And then again, the picture on the right is just showing where the garage is going to go and its relation to the existing house. So the idea is that the garage will, be easier for them to access the house in addition to being able to store their vehicles. So the letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals is shown on the left side there, and then the right is their site plan. So you can see that they were able to put that proposed garage in areas without slope. And once again, in this petition, Jackie, if you flip to the next slide, they aren't the only ones that aren't meeting the minimum lot size requirement. There are other parcels in the vicinity that also don't contain the required acreage to further develop. So with that, staff recommends approval of the design standards variance to or from the minimum lot size requirement based on findings of fact and subject to Monroe County Highway and drainage engineer reports.
Any questions for staff? No questions for staff. Is the petitioner here and would they like to speak?
I do see a hand raised. and it's Cheryl.
Yes, Cheryl's petitioner.
Okay.
Okay, can you state your name and,
Yes, my name is Cheryl Fry. I am daughter of petitioner. I'm on his behalf this evening. I'm helping.
okay, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I sure do, yes.
All right, go ahead.
I think Rebecca covered it very well. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I thank you all so much for your time.
Does anybody have any questions for Cheryl? I don't see any questions for you, Cheryl. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good evening. And thank you for showing up. And is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on behalf of this petition? Seeing none, is there anyone else here or anyone here that would like to speak against this petition? Seeing none, does one of my fellow board members have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion. On case number 2102-VAR-13, Design Standard Variance, Minimum Lot Size Requirements of Chapter 804 at 7241 North Old State Road 37, I move to approve Design Standard Variance to the minimum lot size standard in Chapter 804 based on the findings and fact and subject to county highway and drainage engineer reports.
Second motion.
Okay, I will call the roll. The motion is on petition number 2102-VAR-13, Terry Weaver, minimum lot size variance, chapter 804, for the real estate located at 7241 North Old State Road 37. A vote in favor is a vote to grant the variance based on the findings of fact and subject to the Monroe County Highway and Drainage Engineers report. Bernie Garitas,
Yes.
Mimi Hosea,
Yes.
Rebecca Smarchek,
Yes.
Thorson,
Yes.
Robert Clements.
Yes.
Variance is approved by a 5-0 vote.
All right, thank you, and you have a good evening. Okay, next up we have case number 2102-VAR-14. Rebecca, you again.
Yeah, so this is a variance request to the detached accessory dwelling unit special condition number 55, which is in chapter 802. It's for property at 985 East Dillman Road. It contains 20.39 acres and it's zoned agricultural rural reserve in Perry Township. So the request or purpose of the request is so that the petitioners can construct a dadu that is roughly 1,460 square feet. So per ordinance, we have a 1,000 square foot max limitation to the residential space in a dadu. And in this case, the petitioner is proposing or is desiring 1,460 square feet. So current zoning is agricultural rural reserve. The comp plan has this in the Makua rural transition. There's really no site conditions, no concerns with that, and same with the slope. Where the location of the proposed detached structure with the dadu, there's no slope. So here we are looking down Dillman Road. And in the photo on the left is the home that the petitioners have recently constructed. And photo on the right side is essentially where the, where the structure is planned to be located. Just trying to get a better shot of that. But that's, again, where the garage will be with the dwelling unit. So the reason that the petitioner is asking or desiring more space in the dadu is because his parents will be living there, and he is concerned that them being in wheelchairs or soon to be in wheelchairs, that the 1,000 square foot limitation is tight, would be tight for them to try to negotiate around in wheelchairs. And then photo on the right is showing the petitioner's site plan. So this property is on septic, already has a driveway permit. Of course, the constructed home is also permitted. So we're just considering the residential space limitation to the garage or pole barn that he'd like to build. So staff actually recommends denial of this design standards variance, mainly related to finding C in the ordinance that states that there aren't practical difficulties don't really exist. If the petitioner would decrease the size of the proposed detached accessory dwelling unit to meet the 1,000 square foot limitation, then the variance wouldn't be necessary. All right, any questions?
Any questions for Rebecca?
I've got a quick one, I think, Rebecca. I'm wondering that for the detached unit, one thing in the conditions, it says that, and this is just for my education, but in the condition 55, it says that mobile homes that were constructed prior to a date in 1981 cannot be used. That's just because that the construction standards of mobile homes at that point in time were less than what they were after 1981. That's not any sort of reflection on mobile homes, correct?
No, and they're not proposing a mobile home. This will be a pole barn that has living quarters in it that total that are proposed to total 1,460. And you know, the dadu is permitted in this zone. It's just that there's the 1,000 square foot limitation. So this will be a new pole barn that they construct with a portion of it for residential living space for petitioner's parents.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that number 55 with the manufactured home clause and why that's in there. That was
okay.
Bigger picture stuff. But secondly, so the separation between the two structures is proposed to be, is that 30 feet? Am I reading that correctly?
It's 42 feet here.
Okay. And this is, again, I don't know the answer to this question. What constitutes a detached dwelling? And what would it take to make it an attached, or pardon me, a detached structure? And what would make it an attached structure?
So in this instance, if the petitioner proposed to attach to build the residential quarters for his parents onto the main house. So that, and it would be designated space for them. So that would be considered an attached dwelling unit.
If they attached roof lines, would that do it?
You mean if they attached the roof line of the living quarters to the roof line of the house?
Yeah, the roof line of the proposed structure to the roof line of the existing dwelling we see on the left there.
I think some of it comes down to the building code requirements for whether it's a same unit or a separate unit. I'm not totally sure on what counts for that. We have provided some flexibility in the the ordinance in that an apartment within the house is allowed to really kind of deal with this situation as well, as long as there aren't new separate entrances. If you have new separate entrances, then it becomes an ADU, as they say, an attached dwelling structure. And then if it's totally detached, and again, I don't know whether a vestibule or a breezeway or a roof line connects that, then it's, if it's not connected, it becomes a detached dwelling unit. And I will say this, the square footage limitation is based upon usable space. It doesn't include utility rooms and furnished rooms and so on. So it's a little more lenient than it appears to be. And I think, as I recall, the basis for the BZA was, yeah, we want to allow these as accessory uses. We don't want to allow two residences on the same lot. That's kind of the idea, that for the limitation on size.
Sure, I understand. The reason why I asked, I'm just looking at what possibilities are there. That's why I was asking the question. Thanks, Larry. You did a nice job answering that. I appreciate it.
And also in a mobile home, because it's always good to understand this. That was the date. That was the time period when the federal regulations came into play, and there started being safety requirements for construction of manufactured housing. So they didn't necessarily have aluminum wiring anymore, and all the other things that caused problems with some of the earlier manufactured homes.
Thanks.
Rebecca, just to clarify, they're building an 82 by 40 structure, which is the 3,280 square feet, but only 1,460 square feet of that is the residential portion, which is when it contains a bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen. So I think that was Bernie's question.
All right, any further questions for staff? Seeing none, is the petitioner here, and would they like to speak?
Yeah, I did see my petitioner on the call.
Is that Lee Simpson?
Yes.
They're trying to speak, but they're very quiet.
Hi, this is Lucas Simpson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Mr.
first of all,
Simpson, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
yes, I do.
All right, thank you, sir. Proceed.
I want to thank you all for your consideration tonight. One question was answered, that the distance between the two structures is 50 feet. The reason I'm asking for a little bit bigger of a space is because I have a grandmother currently living in just a little over 1,500 square feet as a full-time caregiver, and people coming in throughout the day. Her bathroom is so loaded with different accessories to get her in and out of the shower, and wheelchairs and walkers, and get in a room. There's just not enough room for two people. I made bigger rooms for this to accommodate a caregiver assistant on my parents if they have to be assisted. I don't see it being an issue. I've talked to the neighbors, and everybody's is compliant with what I'm doing. There's no issues. I've talked to neighbors on both sides of me. You know, I bought the 20 acres. I didn't buy it as a spec home. I bought 20 acres because I'm planning on staying there. I have one sibling that lives out of state, and care of my parents is going to be falling on to me to take care of them. And I like to have them close next door because I work at Crane today. I'm going about 10 hours a day, and it'd be nice to come home and just be able to go just right across the yard and help do what I got to do to take care of my parents. That's why I'm asking for the change in the 460 additional square footage.
Does anybody have any questions for the petitioner?
I'd just like to say what a beautiful piece of property you have.
Oh, we love it.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
It's a nice view. It's peaceful. I'm moving in and on the 15th into the house on the left there. That's when I get to move in, so I'm anxious.
Yeah.
You know, on the urging of the planning department, I did go ahead and kind of work toward this. I've talked with the health department. I do have a septic permit for a 2-bedroom. I have the driveway permit. I have electricals, water courses on the property. So the only hurdle I got to get over is this additional 460 square foot.
Okay, well, we're working on it.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, any additional questions for the petitioner? Seeing none. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Seeing none. Is there anybody here that would like to speak against this petition? Not seeing any. Does one of my fellow board members have a motion?
Well, I'd like to move that we approve the design standards variance to chapter 802, condition number 55 from the 1,000 square feet of residential space limit for a detached accessory dwelling unit. Because I think that the petitioner has shown and met practical difficulties. And this is in reference to case number 2102-VAR-14. And that is at 985 East Stillman Road.
Second.
Second that.
Roll for us, Larry.
Okay, the vote's on petition number 2102-VR-14, Lucas Simpson, detached accessory dwelling unit, variance from special condition 55 to allow a dadu construction with more than the allowed square footage for a dadu at 985 East Stillman Road. Again, the vote in favor is vote to grant the variance. William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Smarchek,
Yes.
Sorensen,
Yes.
Mary Clemens,
Yes.
Bernie Garitas.
Yes.
The variance is approved by a 5-0 vote.
All right. Thank you so much, and you have a good evening.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have case number 2102-VAR-15, and that's you, Drew.
Thank you. All right, this is the Pritchard minimum lot size variance to chapter 804. It is 3.797 acres, and it is in Salt Creek Township, section 3, located at 1094 North Brummets Creek Road. It's zoned forest reserve, and it's in the Eco 1 overlay area. So the petitioner is requesting one design standards variance from the minimum lot size requirement of chapter 804 for the purposes of constructing an approximate 168 square foot screened-in porch addition to their existing single-family residence. The petition site is 3.797 acres, and it's zoned forest reserve, which that zoning district requires a minimum lot size of 5 acres. So in order to do new development on the property, such as this addition, the petitioner would have to apply for a minimum lot size variance. Approval of the variance would allow the petitioner to submit the construction of a 168 square foot screened-in porch addition that must meet all design standards, including height, bulk, area, and density, setbacks, slope restrictions, all of the Forest Reserve zoning district and Area 1 of the environmental constraints overlay. Here we have the zoning map and the comprehensive plan map, zone forest reserve, and the comprehensive plan has it designated as farm and forest. Here I included an overlay map of the environmental constraints area. You'll note that it's in Area 1 in blue. Area 2 is the red section to the east. Here we have an aerial imagery of the petition site that is the site conditions, and then also the slope map there in the bottom right hand corner of the screen that shows where all those sloped areas are. Here we have some aerial imagery of the petition site. The next slide should have a little bit more of a zoomed in image of that site. The screened-in porch, I believe, will be located, let me look, towards the end, so the side closest to you. Yes, right there in that area. That's where the proposed area for the screened-in porch will be. Here we have the letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals stating that they are requesting the variance for the minimum lot size requirement of the Forest Reserve Zone in order to construct their screened-in porch, as well as their commitment to use best erosion control measures in performing their addition. Here is the submitted site plan. You can note that the proposed porch location is on the eastern end of the property. There's no issue with side yards or any other setbacks, that sort of thing. More images here of the submitted site plan, some design schematics for the petitioned addition. And we can come back to any of these if anyone has questions about the design. And here I also included the existing type E administrative subdivision that the property is a part of. You'll note that it is in the left parcel noted as 1094, and then the property to the east at 1100. Those are the two lots that are involved in this particular type E subdivision. So overall, planning staff recommends approval of the design standards variance to chapter 804 for the buildable area, 15% slope requirement. Oh, excuse me, that's not right there. It should be the design standards variance to chapter 804 for the minimum lot size requirement for the Forest Reserve Zone based on the findings of fact. I will now take any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Drew?
Just, I have a quick question for staff. So since staff is recommending approval, would this be an instance where staff would think that a hearing officer petition, if that ever comes to play, would be useful for a petition like this?
I think, Bernie, the answer is, you never can tell whether it's a no-brainer or not. I'll put it that way quite simply.
You never know for sure until you don't get any answer when somebody wants to speak against it.
Well, I wasn't putting you on the spot, but I'm looking at the size of the addition and the position along the roadway and the fact that staff is recommending approval. I'm putting my plug in for a hearing officer. I would be remiss if I didn't.
You want to do that at some point in time. The problem we've always had is how do we designate a person to do that? A lot of large planning departments have enough staff that they can just designate someone a hearing officer and insulate them from any of the decisions, or any of the policy going into variance approvals. So they basically would not have a preconceived notion when they act as hearing officer. The problem we have is kind of twofold. We have a small department, and secondly, we do things on a kind of a team effort. We review everything together. So we really would need a hearing officer that is, say a former BZA member or a member of the county legal staff or something like that, who could serve as a hearing officer, and yet be insulated from the day-to-day review of variances by the planning staff. And that's kind of what we're looking at. The other thing I will mention is that we are looking carefully as we look at the new zoning ordinance update, the areas where, how can we avoid, cases where we know they're going to get a variance, and yet we have to take them to the variance procedure based upon the ordinance. And one thing might be to say that if a lot is pre-existing, it can be built upon if the proposed project meets all the side yard setbacks and is totally located in buildable area and does not require any other variance. That would be an example of a change in the ordinance that would reduce the number of agenda items and avoid any requirement to get a variance, as opposed to having to go to a hearing officer or a BZA. That's what we're thinking about.
Thanks, Larry. That's a great explanation. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Is the petitioner here? And if they are, would they like to speak?
I am here and I'd like to speak.
Okay, state your name, please.
Lauren Wood.
I believe I've already sworn you in, haven't I?
I'm happy to be sworn in again if necessary.
That's fine. You've been sworn in already. Continue, please.
Yeah, so we are the designer and builder on this project. I also happen to be a neighbor. I live on Brummets Creek here, and I've worked on the adjacent property. This screen porch, as has been stated before, has a minimal footprint. It's actually within the disturbed area of the existing home and landscaping. So, you know, if you were able to zoom in from the aerial, you'd see that we're setting within the excavation project, you know, the original apartment that was built there maybe 10 years ago. So, you know, I realize that this lot is a minimum size, but I think that this project that we're proposing here just has a very marginal, if any, impact. What you can't see here is that the lot slopes uphill to the bottom of the screen here. So there's no erosion impact of the work that we're doing. The ground slopes towards the house. So we are not creating any sort of runoff into the watershed with the work that we're doing here. It's just right up against the house. So, you know, I think it's minimal impact for the environment, but has a big impact for the homeowners. And I sure hope you guys approve it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on behalf of the petition? Not seeing any. Is there anyone here that would like to speak against the petition? Not seeing any of those either. Can we have a motion, please?
Well, I could make a motion. I'd like to move in the case number 2102-VAR-15 at 1094 North Brummets Creek Road. I'd like to move that we approve the minimum lot size variance to Chapter 804 of the Monroe County zoning ordinance based on the findings of fact. I think this will be really nice for the home.
Second.
All right.
Okay, I'll call the roll on petition number 2102-VR-15 for minimum lot size variance to Chapter 804 for the real estate located at 1094 North Brummets Creek Road. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance based upon the findings of fact set forth in the report. Mary Beth Marchuk?
Yes.
Mrs. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mary Clemens?
Yes.
Veritas?
Garatage, you said? Or
Pardon me?
Yes.
I didn't hear who Larry called.
Bernie, yeah, he called you.
Yes, I'm sorry. You cut out, Larry. Yes.
William Hosea?
Yes.
Okay, variance is approved by 5-0 vote.
Okay, that's it for this evening. I don't think we have any reports. Other to say that William is leaving us. This is going to be his last meeting. So he is off to more responsibility and jobs. Tell them what you're doing, William.
Going to be taking over the leadership of the Monroe County Black Democratic Caucus again.
Oh, wow. Good.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good.
Your presence
We're gonna miss
will
you
be
here,
missed.
William.
Yes.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah,
And thanks for your service.
yeah, planning staff would really like to thank you for your service. You've been a great member.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We look forward to seeing what all the good things you do in the future and wish you the best. That's for sure.
So can we make this a petition and put it to vote?
I think that would only be right.
You want to make a motion?
Make a motion. William has to
I
stay.
move William stay.
I second the motion.
I don't have a case number.
Well, next,
Hard case, number 1.
Yeah, and I fear that when we do go back to meetings in person, that due to the lateness of my job, I will not be able to make it into town to do that. So I have to worry about that, but that's still a little ways off yet, although it's getting closer every day. I know that the end is near. They extended vaccines to 50 and above today. So the new Johnson & Johnson vaccines made a difference. So,
Yeah, I will update you. The one update I do have is that Eric Evans reported today at the commissioners meeting that they are upgrading the Nat Hill room to kind of take into effect everything that has changed in the last year. But one of the great things they're going to be doing is upgrading the speaker system so that it will be possible maybe to hear what's going on during the meeting while you're at the meeting. And they're also going to be upgrading the recording system so that we're going to have a somewhat better digital recording of the meeting rather than what we do now, which is a very complicated audio tape process. So that's all very good news. And we don't know exactly when that will occur. It also, we're clearly going to have a ability when we go back to live meetings to also have people participate through Zoom. As a part
that'd be
of,
nice. In that case, I could stay on, just see
Yeah.
me with my
well, it depends,
weird backgrounds and stuff like that.
It depends what the state does as far as requiring open meetings and presence of appointees on board. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Hopefully there will be some opportunity for Zoom attendance because it is very difficult for people sometimes to make it to the meetings because of job responsibilities or other board meetings they have to attend on the same evening. So we'll see what happens, but that's kind of an update from the commissioners meeting this morning.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
well, you really got us through that meeting, Mary Beth. I was really impressed. I thought we'd be here till 9, but
Well, it's kind of easy when nobody shows up to speak. Makes our job easier. And you know, if it's going to be approved, might as well just move it along. But
well, thank
yes.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you, everyone.
And move that we adjourn the meeting.
Everybody say aye real quick.
Say aye.
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 Okay. All right.
Thanks.
William,
Thanks, everyone.
you take care.
Yeah.